Welcome to my YouTube channel and dear students, uh, for the class 8, today we are going to see the explanation for the chapter number 1, Living World and Classification of Microbes. First of all, we will talk about the why the classification of living organism is needed. When we talk about the living organisms, we have a different kind of a living organisms, plants, animals in and around us. And there are some living organisms which are very minute in a size, and some of very so small that to observe them we require instruments like a microscope. Now these microbes what we have, they are very small in a size. When we talk about the other animals or the plants, they are in a different sizes, they are found in a different locations, and we have more than a millions of the living organisms in and around us. So to study them, we should make a group of them. Simply, if I am taking the example of the human beings are classified on a different basis. Sometime on the basis of a nation in which they are living, sometime the language they are speaking. Like that, different criterias are there to distinguish between or to classify the human beings. Same way, the all living organisms, they should be classified in a proper manner to study them in a clear way or in a smaller portion. Same way, if I'm talking about the biodiversity, the word biodiversity, which is present over here, the biodiversity and the need of classification. Just simple example I am taking giraffe. One of the animals, giraffe, you know very well. The picture of a giraffe comes in your mind immediately. Is having a long and the high neck. Why he is having a high neck? Because in the habitat where he lives, the plants are taller and their leaves, the green leaves what the plants are bearing, it's at a height. So reach up to that. To reach up to there to eat them, the animal should have a height, and that's why the giraffe is developed, or the giraffe came across a long development in their body, and they adapted to the environment or the geographical region, and they are having now a long neck to reach up to that part. Same way, there are the different animals who are having adapted to the environment in their living. Here some of the information they have given us about the history, that the Carl Linnaeus in 1735 divided living world in two kingdoms. One is a vegetabilia and one is a animalia. Vegetabilia is nothing but the greenery, the plants what we have, and the other part is a animalia, means all the living organisms in a category of the animals. Another one, the next one came as a Haeckel in 1866. He considered a three kingdom or the three categories. One is a protista, one is a plants, and one is a animals. Then afterward, the another scientist came in a year 1925, Chatton. He created two groups, prokaryotics and eukaryotics, which already in a lower standard you have studied. Then the next one, that is in 1938, the Copeland divided living organism into a four kingdom. Now he came from three to the four, that is the Monera, Protista, plants and animals. Further is, after that, the another scientist, Robert Harding Whittaker, which who came in a year 1920. He got a birth in a 1920, and his era ended at a 1980. And he was a American ecologist, and in a 1969 he divided living organism into a five groups, which also we call as a Whittaker classification by Whittaker. He considered certain criteria, because if we are dividing like when I was talking about the human beings. The criteria, like if we are dividing it on the basis of a nation, means a nationality they are bearing, we can classify the human beings. Same way, there is a certain criteria which was followed by the Whitaker to classify the living organism. And that complete chart he has given, the living organism is divided in a different bases. The first one, that is the complexity of the cell structure. So this is what the first part, the on the basis of the complexity of the cell structure, he divided living organism into a prokaryotics and eukaryotics. Then the further part, what he did, the second category he chose, or the second criteria, that is the complexity of the organism. Complexity of the organism means whether it is a unicellular or the multicellular, means this is the second part, that is the organisms, whether it is a unicellular like the amoeba or the paramecium, they are the unicellular, or the multicellular. When we talk about the prokaryotics, they are just unicellular. In the eukaryotics, both the possibilities are there, unicellular as well as the multicellular. After that, he chosen the third part, that is the mode of nutrition. Mode of nutrition means how they are eating, they are consuming their food. There are the certain living organisms like the plants who are making their own food. They are called as the autotrophic. Another one, the word is a heterotrophic. Heterotrophic are nothing but the who are depending on the others, like human beings, the other animals like a monkey, lion, different etc. Different animals are there who depend on the other products. Like we depend on the vegetables, we depend on the fruits, we depend on the various plants for our food. So these kind of animals who depend on the others comes under the category of the heterotrophic. So third was the mode of nutrition. So on the basis of that, he classified them into a different category like the autotrophic or heterotrophic. Next one, on the basis of the lifestyle, what the lifestyles they are having, like a plants comes under the category of the producers. Why producers? Because plants are producing food, grains or the fruits or the vegetables, this all we are getting from the plants. Then the next one we have as animals. Animals are nothing but what comes also called as the consumers, because they consume the producers. And the last one is a fungi, means the microbes which decomposes all these plants as well as the animals. And the last what he has taken, that is the phylogenetic relationship, prokaryotic to eukaryotic or unicellular to multicellular. On the basis of this, Whitaker got the five kingdoms: kingdom 1 Monera, then Protista, then fungi, then plantae and animalia. Now the next what we have to study, that is the characteristics for the different categories or the different kingdoms. When we talk about the kingdom Monera, we have a characteristics. All the organisms are unicellular. Monera is nothing but what the unicellular. Then they may be autotrophic or heterotrophic, means they can be like a plants who are producing their own food, and they can be like animals which are heterotrophic, which depend on the other living organisms or the other products. Then next one, the another characteristic, these are prokaryotic cells without distinct nucleus or cell organelles. Next is a kingdom Protista. Characteristics for this: Protista are single-celled organisms, means they are unicellular with well-defined nucleus enclosed in a nuclear membrane. There is a presence of a nucleus inside them. If you will observe in these pictures, you can see there is a presence of a nucleus here. Here, in this we have the nucleus. Here we have a nucleus. means they have their own nucleus. Nucleus is like a brain of the cell. Like we have a brain, same way the this living organisms, their brain is nothing but what, the nucleus. And the further characteristics what we have for the protista, they have pseudopodia or hair-like cilia or whip-like flagella for locomotion. Means they have a hair-like structure on their body, or the thread-like structure called as a flagella or the cilia, and that helps them for the locomotion, means to move from one place to the another place. And the examples they have given as for the autotrophs, Euglena, Volvolex, and for the heterotrophs they have given as amoeba or paramecium. Next we have the fungi. The next we have to study about the fungi. Then characteristics for the fungi they have given over here. These are non-green, means they don't have a green color. They may be of a different colors. They may be a yellow, they may be some other red colors. Eukaryotic, heterotrophic organisms. Heterotrophic, they depend on the others for their food. Most of them are the saprotrophs. They feed upon decaying organic matter. Means decaying organic matter means the living organisms when they are dying, whether it is animals or the plants, when they are dying. So on their decaying body, this particular organic or this particular living organisms grows. Further is their cell wall is made up of a tough and complex sugar called as a chitin, the important word chitin. Then some fungi are thread-like and many nuclei are present in the cytoplasm. And examples they have given as a baker's yeast, aspergillus, penicillium, mushrooms. These are the examples for this particular part. The next what we have to study is microbes. Microbes, when we talk about, they are the living organisms. They are living organisms. They are microorganisms. Microorganisms which are very minute in a size. You can see the size of our microbes they have given. The 1 meter is equal to 10 raised to 6 micrometer and 10 raised to 9 nanometer, means they are very small in a size. Microorganisms are also classified as a prokaryotics and the eukaryotics, and then the bacteria, protista, fungi and algae. We have a different kind of the microorganisms. Let's go ahead for one by one. When we talk about the bacteria, the size they have mentioned over here for the bacteria, that is a 1 micrometer to 10 micrometer. Means they are very small in a size. They can be round, they can be cylindrical, they can be zigzag manner, or they are like a spirals, like a spring of a pen, like that also we can have. They are unicellular, independent or parasitic. Difference between independent and the parasitic is, independent means they can live their own, and the parasitic which requires a host body, otherwise it will die. The best example is recently we are hearing about the disease COVID-19, in which we have a coronavirus. So coronavirus is a parasitic virus which requires a host cell. If he is not getting a body, he will die up. Further is, the next part is bacterial cell is prokaryotic with a cell wall, but distinct nucleus or cell organelles are absent in it. Means it's not having the cell organelles inside them. They reproduce by binary fission, means the one cell gets divided into two, two will get divided into four, four will get divided into eight. It will go on. In favorable conditions, bacteria grow vigorously and can double their number in 20 minutes. Simply suppose if there are 10 bacteria, in a 20 minutes it will get converted into 20, then 20 to 40, then 40 to 80. Means it will go on doubling in 20 minutes. It requires just 20 minutes here. Here to here 20 minutes, here to here 20 minutes, here to here 20 minutes. Means it grows very vigorously, very quickly it grows. Next is a protozoa. Size is again smaller, is approximately 200 micrometer. They are found in a soil, fresh water and seawater, means different kind of a water. Some are found in the body of other organisms and are pathogenic, means they are harmful. These are unicellular organisms with a eukaryotic cell. There is a great variation in cell structure, organs of locomotion and modes of nutrition among protozoans. Then examples they have given like amoeba, paramecium, and they can be in a dirty water or a fresh water. Further is next one is a fungi. These are found on decaying organic matter and dead bodies of plants and animals. They are eukaryotic organisms. They can be unicellular and other visible with a naked eyes. Saprotropic absorb their food from decaying organic matter. They reproduce sexually and asexually by cell division or by budding. The next what we have to study is algae. They are aquatic, eukaryotic, unicellular, autotrophic organism. Photosynthesis is carried out. The process photosynthesis you know very well. Help of chloroplast present in cell. Examples they have given is the chlorella and the Clementimonus. Further is the next what we have to study is about the virus. The well-known word nowadays. Everyone knows about it. The virus. The size they have given as a 10 nanometer to 100 nanometer. Means the smallest among all the microbes we have. It's very small in a size. Viruses are not considered as a living organisms. Edge, you can see over here, organisms at the edge of a living and non-living. Means it's just a boundary of both the structures, the living and the non-living. They are studied under microbiology. Viruses are extremely minute. They are very small in a size. And they are 10 to 100 times smaller than the bacteria and can be seen only with electron microscope. They are found in a form of independent particles. Virus is long molecule of a DNA or RNA, which is also known as a deoxyribonucleic acid or ribonucleic acid, covered by the protein coat. They have a layer. Suppose there is one of the virus, they have one layer of the covering on it, which is called as a protein coat, which protects the DNA or RNA of the virus. Further is next part, viruses survive only in living plant or animal cells, and they are called as a host cell for the virus. If they are not getting this host cell, they will die off after a certain time and produce their own proteins with the help of a host cell and create their numerous replica. Then they destroy the host cell and become free. These free viruses again infect new cells. Virus cause many diseases to plants and animals. So this is about this particular chapter, and in this particular chapter actually we studied about the different kind of classification of the living organisms. This is about the complete explanation of the chapter. Thank you.